The Last Rope, a Wild West tale of redemption. The Arizona sun beat down mercilessly on the cracked earth. Marcus Blackwood pulled his horse to a sudden stop, his breath catching in his throat. There, beneath the twisted branches of an old cottonwood tree, hung a figure that made his blood run cold. A young woman dangled from the branch, her body stretched painfully by thick ropes binding her wrists and ankles. Whip marks crisscrossed her sunburned skin, and in places, fresh blood still dripped onto the dust below. If you want to see if Marcus saves her, make sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell. Marcus had seen death before. The war between the states had shown him horrors that haunted his dreams. But this was different. This wasn't war. This was cruelty dressed up as justice. The woman's eyes flickered open at the sound of his horse. No tears streamed down her face. No pleading escaped her cracked lips. Instead, there was something fierce burning in those dark eyes, a defiance that refused to die. "Please," she whispered, her voice like gravel. "Don't cut me down." Marcus froze. "What?" "They'll know someone helped me," she continued, each word costing her. "They'll hunt you down like they hunted my family." Marcus sat there on his horse, the Arizona wind whistling through the canyon. He could ride away, pretend he'd seen nothing, go back to his lonely ranch and live out his days in peace. But he'd done that before. 10 years ago, he'd turned away when it mattered most. And that choice had carved a hollow space inside him that nothing could fill. Without a word, Marcus dismounted. He drew his knife and began cutting the rope slowly, carefully, as if the woman might shatter at any sudden movement. When the last strand gave way, she collapsed. Marcus caught her, feeling how light she was, like a bird with broken wings. He set her down gently against the tree trunk and stepped back, giving her space to breathe. "Water," he said quietly, placing his canteen beside her. She reached for it with trembling hands. As she lifted it to her lips, her torn sleeve fell back, revealing her left forearm. Marcus's world tilted. There, on her sun-darkened skin, was a burn scar, distinctive, with edges that told a story. A scar he had seen before, in firelight and screaming. 10 years ago, when the world went to hell, the memory crashed over Marcus like a flood. A moonless night. A ranch house burning bright against the darkness. Gunshots, screams. An Apache family marked for removal, because rich men wanted their land. His brother had led the raid. Marcus had stood by and watched. The woman saw the recognition flash across his face. Her eyes sharpened, reading him like a wanted poster. "You remember," she said. Not a question. A statement. Marcus's throat went dry. "Yes." A bitter smile touched her cracked lips. "Then you know who I am." He nodded slowly. "Ayasha." "My name is Maya now," she said. "Ayasha died in that fire. Along with my mother, my father, my little brother." Marcus felt the weight of those words settle on his shoulders like stones. "I know, and still, you cut me down." "I should have stopped them that night," Marcus said, his voice rough. "I didn't. That makes me a coward. But I won't be one twice." Maya studied him for a long moment, her eyes searching for lies. Finding none, she finally asked, "Why now? Why after all these years?" "Because," Marcus said, "I'm tired of running from what I am." He helped her onto his horse, and together they rode toward his ranch as the sun painted the sky blood red. Marcus's ranch sat in a valley far from any towner. Deliberate choice for a man who preferred solitude. He showed Maya to the small guest room, left clean clothes folded on the bed, and placed a bowl of warm stew on the table. Then he left her alone. That first night, Maya didn't sleep in the bed. She slept in the corner, her back to the wall. A shard of broken mirror clutched in her hand like a weapon. Days passed in careful silence. Marcus worked his land-fixing fences, tending cattle, hauling water from the well. He never asked Maya to help, but slowly she began to emerge from the house. She swept the porch, gathered firewood, kept her distance. They lived on the same land but in different worlds. One evening, Marcus offered her a new dress, simple, clean, practical. Maya looked at it for a long time before speaking. You don't need to pretend. Pretend what? That you're one of the good ones, she said. I've known enough good men to last a lifetime. Marcus nodded, accepting the accusation. I'm not pretending. I know what I am. Another week passed. One night, when the wind howled through the canyon, Maya stood on the porch, staring at the distant road. If I left, she asked without turning, would you stop me? Marcus was grooming his horse in the stable. He paused. No. You're not my prisoner. She turned to look at him then, something flickering in her eyes before it disappeared behind her careful walls. That night, Maya realized something that frightened her more than ropes or fire. This man didn't want to own her, and that made him more dangerous than any man she'd ever known. Sheriff Tobias. Cain arrived when the sun was highest and hottest, the kind of heat that made everything shimmer like a mirage. Marcus saw the dust cloud long before the rider appeared. Only one man rode with that kind of authority, like he owned not just the law but the very ground beneath. His horse's hooves, Cain reined in his black stallion at the ranch gate, his cold eyes sweeping over the property before landing on Maya, who was hanging laundry on the line. Looks like you've got company, Blackwood, Cain said. His voice smooth as whiskey and twice as poisonous. Marcus stepped between them. What do you want, Sheriff? Cain dismounted, slowly, deliberately. Heard tell of an Apache girl found strung up near Dead Man's Canyon few days back. Just doing my duty, asking around. Maya lifted her chin, meeting Cain's gaze directly. Recognition flashed between them, not of strangers, but of old enemies. Cain's eyes traveled to her wrist, then her arm, stopping at the burn scar. His smile vanished, replaced by something colder. Well, he said softly. Didn't think I'd see you again. Thought you'd learned your lesson about trespassing on claimed land. She's not trespassing, Marcus said firmly. She's my guest. Cain laughed a short, harsh sound guest. That's a mighty fancy word for harboring a fugitive. She hasn't done anything wrong. Cain's voice dropped. Her people squatted on land that belonged to civilized folk. That's theft. The law dealt with it. The law, Maya said, her voice steady, despite the trembling in her hands, burned children alive. The air went still. Cain's expression hardened. Careful, girl. Words like that can get a person hurt. You've got no business here, Marcus said. Cain climbed back on his horse, but before riding off, he looked down at Marcus with something like pity. You're making a mistake, Blackwood. Protecting her won't change what your brother did. Won't clean your hands, I know, Marcus said, but it's the right thing to do now. Cain's horse kicked up dust as he rode away. His final words drifted back on the wind. I'll be back, and next time, I'll bring papers. When the dust settled, Maya turned to Marcus. You knew him? Yes, he was there that night. Leading them, Marcus nodded, and my brother rode at his side. Your brother, Maya repeated slowly. The one who died 3 years ago. Fell off his horse, drunk. Marcus's voice was hollow. Never showed a day of regret. Maya studied him. And you? I've shown nothing but regret, Marcus said. But regret doesn't bring back the dead. That night, neither of them could sleep. Marcus sat at his kitchen table, an oil lamp flickering, casting dancing shadows on the walls. Maya stood in the doorway, unable to walk away, unable to come closer. You knew Sheriff Cain would come, she said finally. I suspected. And you helped me anyway. Marcus looked up at her. I told you. I'm done running. Maya took a step into the room. Your brother led them. What about you? Where were you? The question hung in the air like gunsmoke. Marcus didn't flinch from it. I was there, he said quietly. 22 years old, fresh back from the war. My brother told me it would just be a clearing. That the government wanted the land, and your family was being relocated, peaceful-like, but it wasn't peaceful. No, Marcus's hands clenched. When we got there, your father came out to talk. He had old papers, showing his family's claim. My brother just laughed, said those papers didn't matter anymore. Maya's breathing grew shallow, but she didn't interrupt. The fire started fast, Marcus continued. I realized too late what was happening. I tried to pull my brother back, tried to stop it. But he hit me, told me to be a man. By the time I got my senses back, he paused. Your family was gone, all except you. I hid in the root cellar, Maya said, her voice distant. I heard my mother screaming for my little brother. I heard the roof collapse. I stayed hidden until morning. Marcus stood up slowly. I've lived with that night for 10 years. Carried it like a stone around my neck. I can't undo it. Can't bring them back, but I can stand here now and tell you the truth. What happened was murder, and I was there. Maya's eyes glistened, but no tears fell. Why are you telling me this? Because you deserve to know, and because Marcus took a breath, because if you want justice, I won't stop you. Justice, Maya said bitterly. You think telling me this is justice? No, Marcus said. But it's a start. It's acknowledgement. It's truth. The silence stretched between them. Then Maya asked, her voice barely above a whisper. If I killed you right now, would you fight back? Marcus met her eyes. No. Maya's hand moved to the knife she kept hidden in her belt. She held it, felt its weight, imagined the satisfaction of driving it home. But as she looked at Marcus, at his tired eyes, his slumped shoulders, the weight he carried, she realized something. Killing you won't bring them back either, she said. I know. She lowered the knife. Then what do we do with this truth? We live with it, Marcus said. Together or apart, that's your choice. But I'm done pretending it didn't happen. Maya turned toward her room. At the door, she paused without looking back. Tomorrow, she said, teach me to ride properly. My father never got the chance. The door closed softly. Marcus sat back down, his hands still trembling. It wasn't forgiveness, but for the first time in 10 years, he'd been allowed to speak the truth aloud. Dawn came soft and golden. Marcus was already saddling the gentlest horse when Maya stepped outside. She wore her own clothes, now mended but proud. This is Copper, Marcus said, patting the horse's neck. She's patient. He showed Maya how to mount, how to hold the reins, how to move with the horse rather than against it. When she struggled, he didn't rush her. When she succeeded, he simply nodded. Days turned into weeks. They fell into a rhythm, working the land, sharing meals, speaking more, but never about that night. They built something fragile but real. Maya learned to rope cattle. Marcus taught her to read the weather. Together, they repaired the old barn, their hammers falling in sync. One afternoon, Maya slipped while carrying lumber. Marcus caught her by instinct. For a moment, they stood close enough to feel each other's heartbeat. Maya didn't pull away immediately. Neither did Marcus. Thank you, she said softly. It was the first time her voice had held warmth instead of ice. That evening, they sat on the porch watching the sun set. The silence between them had changed, no longer hostile, no longer careful, just quiet. My mother used to say, Maya spoke suddenly, that the strongest people aren't the ones who never fall. They're the ones who get up and keep walking. Marcus nodded. My father used to say that a man's character isn't what he does when people are watching. It's what he does when no one would ever know. Did you believe him? I used to, Marcus said. Then I realized he said a lot of things he didn't practice. Maya smiled a small, genuine smile. My mother practiced what she preached. Even when it cost her everything, she sounds like she was remarkable. She was. Maya's voice grew soft. She would have liked this place. The quiet, the sky. They sat in comfortable silence as stars began to appear. I'm not running anymore, Maya said finally. Marcus looked at her. Neither am I. In that moment, something shifted. The past was still there, it would always be there, but it no longer stood between them like a wall. Instead, it had become the foundation they were building on. Sheriff Kane returned as promised, but this time he brought 3 deputies and a signed warrant. Marcus was mending the north fence when he heard the horses. He looked up and knew immediately that this was the reckoning. Maya stood by the well, bucket in hand. She saw Kane and his men, and her body tensed with old instinct. But she didn't run. Kane dismounted, waving the paper. Got it official now, Blackwood. Warrant for her arrest. Trespassing, theft, assaulting an officer. She hasn't assaulted anyone, Marcus said calmly. Not yet, Kane smirked. But there's a witness says she did, 10 years back. A lie. The law doesn't care about your opinion. Kane gestured to his deputies. Take her. Marcus stepped in front of Maya. No. Kane's hand moved to his gun. You're interfering with the law. Your law, Maya said. Stepping round Marcus to stand beside him, murdered my family, called it justice. Your family were squatters on claimed land, Kane said coldly. We had papers, Maya said. Legal claim going back 40 years. Your boss wanted the land, so he burned the papers and burned us with them. One of the deputies shifted uncomfortably. This wasn't the simple arrest they'd been promised. Marcus raised his voice so all could hear. My brother, Jacob Blackwood, led that raid 10 years ago. Sheriff Kane here gave the order. They burned a family alive for land that was legally theirs. I was there. I saw it. And I'll testify to it in any court. The silence was deafening. Kane's face went red. You're confessing to murder? I'm confessing to being there. To being a coward who didn't stop it. Marcus's voice was steady. But I'm not a coward anymore. You want to arrest someone? Arrest me. I'm the witness. I'll tell everyone in the territory what really happened. Kane looked at Maya. And you? You going to testify to? I am, Maya said clearly. I survived. I remember, and I'm not hiding anymore. The deputies exchanged glances. This had become complicated. A rancher confessing, a survivor willing to speak, questions that uncomfortable men didn't want asked. Kane holstered his gun slowly. This isn't over. Maybe not, Marcus said, but it's not going your way either. Kane mounted his horse, his jaw tight. You're signing your death warrant, Blackwood. Better than living as a dead man, Marcus replied. As the dust settled from their departure, Maya realized her hands had stopped shaking. For the first time since she was a child, she didn't feel like prey. They'll come back, she said, probably. We might not win. We might not, Marcus agreed. But we'll fight standing up this time. Maya looked at him, really looked at him. Saw not the man who stood by, but the man who was standing up now. Thank you, she said. Marcus shook his head. Don't thank me for doing what I should have done years ago. I'm not thanking you for the past, Maya said. I'm thanking you for now. The seasons changed. The harshness of summer gave way to gentle autumn. The land around the ranch began to heal, just like the two people who tended it. Word spread about Marcus's confession. Some called him a traitor. Others called him honest. The territorial governor, facing mounting questions, quietly reassigned Sheriff Kane to a distant posting. It wasn't justice, not real justice, but it was something. One cool morning, Marcus placed a folded paper on the kitchen table. Maya unfolded it. Reading the carefully written words, certificate of land ownership, this property, and all rights, thereto, are granted to Maya. Soaring Eagle, and Marcus Blackwood, in equal partnership. Your land now too, Marcus said. Legal, proper. No one can take it. Maya's fingers traced the words of her true name, the one she hadn't used in years. Partnership, if you want it. Not out of debt. Not out of guilt, just, if you want to stay. Maya set the paper down carefully. And if I choose to stay, it's because you choose to, Marcus finished. No other reason needed. The wedding happened on a clear December morning. No church, no crowd. Just a traveling judge, to witnesses from town who'd known Marcus as fair, and the wide Arizona sky. Maya wore a dress of soft blue, not white, not traditional, just something that felt like her. Marcus wore his cleanest shirt and couldn't stop his hands from trembling. When they exchanged vows, they didn't promise to forget. They promised to remember together. Months passed. The ranch prospered. They built a new barn together, planted an orchard, welcomed a stray dog who decided he belonged. One spring evening, Maya placed Marcus's hand on her stomach. He's going to need a name. Marcus felt the small flutter of life beneath his palm. Or she, Maya agreed, smiling. They'll know where they come from, Maya said, looking at the sunset. Both sides. The truth of it, Marcus nodded, and they'll know they don't have to run from it, or hide from it, just live with it. Maya leaned against him as the sky turned gold and purple. My mother used to say that home isn't a place. It's the people who stand with you when the storms come. She was wise, Maya smiled, and she'd have liked you, eventually. Marcus laughed a real laugh, the kind he hadn't made in years. Eventually, she was protective, Maya grinned, as stars began to appear. They sat together, on their porch, on their land, with their future growing between them. The past was still there. It would always be there. But they'd learned that you don't heal by forgetting, or by being forgiven. You heal by standing still, by speaking truth, by choosing to stay when staying is the hardest thing in the world, in the Wild West, where most believed that guns and gold decided everything. Marcus and Maya had discovered something rarer. That redemption doesn't come from running towards something new. It comes from finally standing still and building something true. Dear viewers, thank you for journeying with me through this tale. Justice isn't always found in courts or at the end of a gun. Sometimes it's found in the courage to face what we've done and do better. In the quiet choice to stand when it's easier to run. Marcus understood that redemption isn't about forgetting the past. It's about carrying it forward and building something new from the ruins. If this story touched your heart, please like, subscribe, and share. Let me know in the comments what you felt. Type 3 if this story moved you. Until next time, remember, we all carry our past, but we choose whether it breaks us or builds us.